everybody, welcome to the first cookbook club. Today I'm going to be making a white chocolate macadamia nut scone recipe. This is from the What's Gabby Cooking Cookbook, which is available for download on Cookbook. So let's get started. Just have to pull up the recipe. The only negative is you can't really print from Hoopla unless you do a screenshot. This is the cookbook that you're reading. All right, so a few things that you're going to want to have on hand. You're going to want a large mixing bowl. You're going to need a grater. The recipe calls for a box grater, but if you don't have one, just a handheld grater will be fine. You're going to need some spoons, measuring cups, a cutting board if your nuts are not cut up yet, and then you're going to need the ingredients. So the recipe calls for flour, baking powder, salt, your macadamia nuts toasted, some unsalted butter, heavy cream. I am using half and half as a substitution for this recipe, brown sugar, and white chocolate chips. All right. Oh, and vanilla extract, which is right here. And am I missing anything? That's it. Okay. So the first thing that we are going to do is combine our dry ingredients in our large bowl. So I am taking the flour. We need 2.5 cups. So I'm going to measure that out here. I'm just using a knife to help level off the scoops within the bag. So I'm making sure each scoop is nice and level and then putting it into my mixing bowl. Okay, there's 2 cups. Just need a half cup. Let me level this one off. Okay. Move that up so it's out of the way, and we need to add the rest of our dry ingredients. So, okay, so we need our sugar. There's 1/4 of a cup of sugar. Our baking powder. You can download the book to get all of the exact measurements of everything. Leveling that, adding that to the bowl. Close this up, and our salt. Pour the salt in here just so I can make sure I can get enough to fill the measuring spoon. And we'll level that off quickly. All right, so all of my dry ingredients are now in the bowl. I'm just going to give them a quick stir. If your sugar kind of clumped together, then make sure you get that broken up. You don't want clumps of sugar when you bake your scones. It would not be good. Okay, so I'm getting that nice and mixed together. If you have a whisk at home, it's a great time to use a whisk. I did not bring one here today. All right, that looks great. Okay, let's see what's next. Next, we are going to add our butter. So we don't need a whole stick. So I'm going to cut that for the measurement of what is required. This much. Undo the paper. And then I'm gonna, since I'm grating it, I'm gonna take the paper and put it around the end, and this just kind of helps keep your hands from getting all buttery. All right, I'm gonna use my grater to grate the butter into the dry ingredients. If you don't have any kind of grater at home, you can just cut the butter up into chunks and then use a pastry cutter to incorporate the two together. The grater is making quick work of this. And the grater, she uses the grater instead of the pastry cutter just because it's a little bit faster to get everything together. I also should point out, you want your butter to be cold, fresh from the fridge. You don't want warm butter, or else your scones are not going to have that nice airy texture that you would be used to from the bakery. Make sure your butter is cold. If your butter is not cold, stick it in the fridge for 20 minutes and then start. Okay. Last little pieces there. Make sure I clean off my grater. My knife to clean that off. I want to make sure I get all of that butter into the dough. Perfect. All right. There we go. That's all in there. So now I'm going to use my pastry cutter to incorporate the butter with the dry ingredients. If you don't have a pastry cutter, you can use 2 forks to bring the dough together. You just want to make sure you get a nice kind of pebbly texture as that butter incorporates with the dry ingredients, with your flour and your sugar, your baking powder. If you're getting chunks of butter on your pastry cutter, sure you want to get all those in there. All right. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like. So if you look here, probably a little bit hard to see in the video, but we've got a nice sandy texture for our dough. Poor phone is going to get all buttery. Okay. All right, so now we're going to fold in some of our additions to our scones, which is our macadamia nuts and our white chocolate chips. Okay, so I need 1.5 cup of macadamia nuts. Put some of these in here. And toss those in. So this is a 1/4 cup, so I'm using 2 of these. And you know what? I cut the perfect amount. All right, so those are in perfect, and I'm going to dump all of my wonderful chocolate chips in. These are going to be amazing. All right, so I'm going to quickly fold those into the dough. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is make a well. So I'm digging out the center of the bowl, putting a depression there, and that's where our wet ingredients are going to go. Okay? All right. All right. So now I'm going to add in my 1/2 and 1/2, or use heavy cream, but you can also use buttermilk. Any of those are fine, and my vanilla extract. All right. So let's do the vanilla extract first. Just a teaspoon. So this is a 1/2 teaspoon, so I'm going to add 2 of these. A little bit extra in there, that's okay. And my 1/2 and 1/2. All right. Just a little bit. And we're going, and that's how much we need. want to over mix at this point. So we're just going to use our spoon to kind of lightly bring that dough together. Now what's going to happen is once my dough is together, I am going to cover it with plastic wrap and I'm going to let it sit in the fridge. That's not part of the recipe, but I don't have an oven here, so I looked it up. I can do it. I'm going to let it rest and I'm going to bake it at home, and I will take you guys along for the journey for that. We'll see for real if it works. But I did do my research, so I'm hopeful that it will not be a disaster. All right, so you just want to mix it until everything is moist and you don't have any loose flour, but you don't want to go too far beyond that. You can see the dough's pretty sticky. That's fine. It's going to be that way. All right, I just have a little bit of flour at the bottom that I'm trying to mix in. All right. Okay. There we go. So I'll show you what it looks like. We've got a nice scone dough right here, and you know what? I can't wait to take these home and bake them, but I'm gonna let them chill in the fridge for about an hour. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so check back with you soon, and we'll see what happens when we go to bake these up. All right. Hi, welcome back. So I let the scone dough chill for way more than an hour. I have preheated the oven to 400 degrees and I've prepared a baking sheet. So now all we have left to do is shape the scones. So I'm going to turn the camera a little bit so you can see how I do this, okay? So hold on one sec. Okay, welcome back. So here is my prepared baking sheet. I've got a piece of parchment paper down. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of flour because the dough is a little bit sticky. Spread that out. Now I'm going to remove the dough from the mixing bowl where it was chilling. Put it on my prepared baking sheet. I want to make sure I get all the dough. There's a little bit of loose flour, and that's okay. Okay, so now I have all the dough on my sheet, and it is very sticky, so I'm going to put some flour on my hands. Now I'm going to just try and hand shape it, but I might end up needing a rolling pin. We'll see. Okay, so we want to make a rectangular shape, and then we're going to end up cutting our scones from that rectangle. This gets a little bit sticky. And you want to be careful not to overwork the dough. You don't want that to happen. All right, I'm going to use a rolling pin just to lightly roll. Here it is. A little bit narrower. Now I'm going to start cutting my scones. Just kind of cut these triangular shapes. Okay. Well, the ones on the end are a little strange. You should get like 10. I got 8. That's okay. We'll see how it goes. they're probably going to be a little bit tall. Stick them on here. That I feel like I need to cut that one. Just have kind of a goofy shaped one. We can reform that a little bit. Okay, so I'm spreading them out on my sheet. Just make sure they have enough room. Okay. Now I'm going to take some cream and I'm going to brush it on the tops of each of my scones. My oven is not quite preheated yet, so I'm going to give that a couple minutes. Then I'm going to put these in the oven. I'm going to start the timer at 12 minutes, check them. Might have to go all the way up to 16, but we'll see. I will show you what they look like when they're done, so I'll see you in just a little bit.